What's up, Radio Shade Tree Surgeon here, and today we're going to be pitting this $4 million gorgeous center console by HCB Yachts against my $1,000 Facebook Marketplace Malaise-era Tubbo Brown. One of these boats is the most expensive center console that money can buy, and one of them would look more at home floating in a toilet bowl than it would in the bay. It's Poseidon, king of the ocean, versus the scabby sea roach, and there can only be one winner. We'll go ahead and start our way at the very top before we plummet to rock bottom. Let's see what it feels like to step foot on a $4 million center console, the HCB Sueños. It's a center console, so the first thing you're going to look at is the power. That's where the flex is, ain't it? And it seems like every boat is just so damn eager to flop its big old veiny tube steak on the table. It's a crazy world we live in where a 250 horsepower engine is now just a good size.
You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting.
Well, HCB is apparently a student of the Brian Raditz gambit when it comes to a dick measuring competition. They're only gonna pull out just enough to win and leave you wondering how much hog they still got hidden behind those Tommy Bahamas. It's a god tier power move to not even put the horsepower ratings on your engines, and I'm here for it. By the way, it's 600 horsepower V12s if you were wondering, because I definitely was wondering, and I'm nowhere near capable of being cool enough to not ask.
And this is Quint 600 V12s.
Somehow I don't think I'll get quite the same reaction if I scrape the 60 horsepower stickers off my old Two Smoke Johnson, but a guy can dream, right? My reaction to stepping on the boat was the second dead giveaway that I didn't have the credit score needed to work on this boat, let alone purchase it, because nothing happened. I mean, nothing. Not that I expected to move a 60,000 pound boat very much, but still, I ain't exactly a ballerina. This sucker didn't move an inch, and apparently it's got some sort of gyroscopic system on it called the Seakeeper that keeps the boat perfectly still even if you've got 6 sumo wrestlers doing jumping jacks on one side of the boat. The rest of the boat was, as you'd assume, a sound system that could power a Miami nightclub, seating and iPhone chargers for your 14 favorite OnlyFans models, with a few spots left over for your crypto guru, personal trainer, and private chef. It's set up with the straightforward simplicity of a dedicated fishing boat, which it somehow turns into an uncluttered elegance. This boat doesn't scream confidence. It would never do something so undignified as scream. Its intentions are stated clearly and calmly, and in such a way that doesn't even expect or demand approval. Expectations, demands, these things allow for the possibility of choice, and there isn't an inch of this vessel that asks a question or hides an answer. The HCB Sueños assumes it's the best, and if you decide that it isn't the best, that's a failure on your end, not the boat. And yes, I know they make a 65-foot one for a trifling upcharge of about $1 million, and it can fit 6 engines on it, but come on, man, I'm already bringing a pointy stick to a nuke fight here with my 16-foot sewer skiff, so cut me some slack. And speaking of the old girl, just how in the hell is this $1,000 urinal cake gonna even dare float in the same water as the Sueños? Well, this old shitter might just surprise you. Let's hit rock bottom together, baby. Nowhere to go but up from there. The 1983 Starcraft, aka Maximum Brown. Not exactly what we'll call luxury, but it's mine. This boat has lived a hard life, but even when it was new, I can't imagine this field of beige and StarCraft's half-hearted attempt at graphics was quickening any pulses back in 1983. The color match trailer is pretty neat, but again, it'd be a lot cooler if that color wasn't Psych Ward beige, and of course it had to be color matched because it ain't aluminum, and if I want to keep using it, I'm gonna have to do some pretty serious sandblasting. The beige malaise theme continues to the interior of the boat, along with a subtle pattern of brown, reminiscent of a squashed cockroach, just to liven things up a bit. The stepped-on roach theme continues throughout the boat, with rumblings of sentient fungi forming civilizations in the trim. The previous owner was kind enough to toss down a random sheet of plywood covered in sea deck over the rotted out floor, but the bow area is still very much a punji pit, ready to claim the ankles of the unwary. Besides the new floor, there's also been some other performance modifications over the boat's long and illustrious term of service.
Hey, what are all these holes?
These are speed holes to make the cargo faster.
Oh yeah, speed holes.
And finally, the depth finder I put on the boat that increased the value of the boat by about 50% and decreased the value of the depth finder by about 60%. I'll have to call up my crypto guru and check, but I might not be doing this whole investment thing correctly. But none of that really matters, does it? Let's get to the beef, baby, the power. What are we working with here? Well, the only thing this early 90s 60 horsepower two-stroke Johnson has in common with the quintuplet Mercury V12s on the Suenos is that they both have props. And of course, this is a $1,000 boat, so I'm lucky it even came with a motor, but surprising no one, this motor is currently not running. Since this old smoker looks like it's led just as rough a life as the hull has, before I do anything, I really want to see if we're making any pressure on these cylinders. 105 psi in every cylinder, which is definitely on the low side, hinting at a quadruple digit hours of wide open hoonin', but still, they match across the board, which is really all we're looking for, so now let's figure out why it doesn't run. I've learned a lot about working on outboards, both from my first mate, Chloe Cox, and from the good old YouTube University. I'll give a point to our brave little Johnson over the Merc V12s. I imagine you need a college degree and a laptop to fix one of the engines on the Suenos, but when it comes to this greasy old smoker, if you can fix your lawnmower, you can fix this engine. After figuring out that we had no spark, I busted out my $10 Harbor Freight voltmeter and confirmed that we weren't getting 12 volts to the coils, and from there it really just is as simple as testing for 12 volts all the way back until you find out where the miscommunication is. In this case, there was a whole wire bundle that was starting to rot, corrode, and break. As far as I know, you can't buy any wiring looms for an engine this old, but I had some 5-pin waterproof connectors I got for a few bucks on Amazon left over from a previous project, and after a tedious amount of splicing, soldering, and heat shrink, I slapped the CDI back in, hooked it up, and we're back to brapping, baby. As far as our punji pit in the bow area, I decided to take a page out of the previous owner's book and sweep it under the rug. I had a scavenged sheet of untreated half-inch ply and just enough of a free sample of sea deck to line the middle that wasn't covered by the cushions. And yes, I know it'll eventually rot and warp if I don't seal it with resin or fiberglass, but I don't care, man. It's a temporary fix that cost me literally $0 and about 20 minutes of effort. Besides, everything is temporary. Life is temporary. All things great and small must bow down to the inevitability of the void. So get off my case, okay? I now have a running boat that I could actually stand up in without too much fear of being impaled. So how does the $1,000 blind mullet stack up against the $4 million chariot of the gods? Now, I ain't Mr. Beast, so HCB ain't in any hurry to let this dirty hobo swamp wizard take their boat out for a joyride. So what it feels like to really pilot a boat that costs as much as an actual island will most assuredly forever remain a mystery to me. But I spent a good amount of time on that ode to excess, hanging out, just experiencing what it was like to actually depreciate a vessel with my physical presence. So I got as close to it as I could. Now let's haul the cockroach down to the boat ramp, see if it'll start again, and better yet, maybe even float, and we'll do our best David versus Goliath reenactment. I've got my fingers crossed and my boat mechanic Chloe Cox in tow, and after just a bit of performance anxiety, our brave little Johnson is ready for action.
Hell yeah.
As Chloe makes herself comfortable in her new bow nest, it's not lost on me that we're passing plenty of yachts at the boat ramp that are sunk, in the process of sinking, or have been turned into some sort of water world-esque floating double wide. Now, none of these boats cost $4 million, but even back in the 80s and 90s when these things were new, they were hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at this point, most of them are so worthless, you'd literally have to pay someone to take them. All right, you ready to get this sucker up on plane or what, kiddo?
Do it!
Dude, that 60's running so good we jumped up to freaking breaking the speed limit in the channel. Had to peel it back, baby. It might shake, rattle, and roll, but this 42-year-old boat jumps up on plane quicker than you can spit, cruises dry and smooth at 30+ miles an hour, and does it all for 10 $100 bills. Honestly, the biggest difference, in my opinion, of course, between a $4 million boat and my little $1,000 dinghy ain't even money, it's time. Well, time for me, because I ain't got the money. I might not have a kickin' sound system, cabin AC, or a refrigerator on board, but I'm out on the water with a girl in skimpy clothes and a couple of fishing rods for less money than a month of insurance for the HCB Sueños. I am arguably having the exact same experience as a coked out Miami crypto bro is having on a boat that costs more than twice as much as an average American will make over the entire span of their life. The Sueños is beyond awesome, but is it worth 2 lifetimes of work? And of course, anything from HCB shouldn't be compared to anything so mundane like the cumulative net worth of an average American human being's lifetime of labor. So certainly there's way more affordable boats, and certainly there's a whole lot more options between the 16-foot stink pickle and the 56-foot cruise missile. Here in Tampa, there's boats everywhere, and hell, even at the boat show, I saw a few fishing boats that seemed to be in my price range, like kind of. I mean, I guess I could afford $500 a month if I didn't have a car payment or insurance, and I put in a few more hours of work every week. I mean, it is within the realm of possibility for me until I read the fine print and realized that price is only if you finance it for 240 months. That's 20 goddamn years for all y'all who are just like me and pulling out your calculator right now. Look, I know I'm talking a whole lot about price for someone who claimed the biggest difference between these boats is time, but I still stand by that. If you take the time to wait for the right deal at the right time, you can score a running, floating boat for under $2,000. If you take the time to learn everything you can about the hull, the motor, the trailer, and everything in between, using that little black rectangle in your pocket, you can fix damn near anything that's wrong with that boat in your driveway. And yes, there will be several somethings wrong with it at that price.
We're all laughing now! All laughing now!
Yeah, we're about to get wet, y'all.
The Sueños, hell, any new boat, you're paying that premium so you don't have to spend any time on it at all besides the time that you spend out on the water. Not having to worry about spending the time to work on your boat, let alone the time to learn how to work on your boat, that's an awful nice perk, but if you want it, you better be ready to bend over and smile. The Starcraft SS-160, back in 1983, had a retail MSRP of $3,500. Adjusting for inflation, that's the equivalent of about 11 grand in 2025 dollars. Unfortunately, 11 grand doesn't get you very far on the water if you're trying to buy brand new these days. There are a few bare bones boats, most notably I think the Grizzly Tracker, that can get you in the $12,000 to $15,000 price range, usually with a 20 horsepower engine. If you want anything more than an aluminum tub with an outboard though, most affordable boats, and yes, there's big air quotes around affordable, in the 16-foot 50+ horsepower range fall more in the $20,000 to $30,000 range and go up from there real quick. And even Starcraft's own cheapest 16-foot boat in 2025 has a base MSRP of $33,000. So if I had the money, would I buy a new boat? Maybe. Hard to say when I don't. Like I said, I ain't Mr. Beast, so I'm not in any danger of getting loaned a 6-figure boat, let alone buying one in any foreseeable future, but I certainly don't have anything against them. More power to you if you can swing owning a nice brand new boat. I'm happy for you. I'm approaching all this from the perspective of someone who's still in their first year of boat ownership and never thought I'd be able to own a rowboat, let alone one with a motor. So for me, and for probably most of the people watching this, I just want you to know that despite all the tens of millions of dollars of boats sitting at the boat shows and floating in the marinas, you can have just as much fun on a clapped out $1,000 doo-doo brown tin can as you can on $1 million yacht. And yeah, it ain't gonna win any beauty contests, and I'll probably have to fix something else before I take it out again, but at least I'm on the water and smiling, and besides, trust me on this one, I don't care how badass you think you are, someone's always got a bigger boat. And who knows, maybe one day I'll get to live out those Playboy dreams on $1 million boat, however unlikely that might be. But until then, hey man, at least dreaming's still free. Huge thanks to George Morgan from Ultimate Marine, who let me put my grubby dick beaters all over a $4 million vessel. I was super transparent with him that I was in no way a potential buyer, and I was making a video that would reach a couple 100,000 people who were also definitely not potential buyers. He told me he didn't care, and that he treats every customer exactly the same, whether they're buying a 20-foot boat or a 100-foot boat.
Right. Treat everybody, your 21-foot customer to your 100-foot customer, like they bought $1 million boat from you. Everything else,
you're fucking all right, man.
Everything else would just work out.
Then he proceeded to give me an entire tour of the Suenos as if I was an actual potential buyer.
Imagine having like 20 of your closest friends back here chilling and grilling. Like,
I can imagine it, dude.
3 days. You can sleep on the boat, go to the sandbar. Nobody has to go anywhere all day. You use the restrooms, the nice coolers all the way down the side. Keep alcohol on one side, keep water on the other.
George Morgan from Ultimate Marine, very cool dude. And if I'm ever in the market for a 5-figure boat, he'll be the first person I call.
And last but most certainly not least, huge shout out to today's video's sponsors, which is me, as in the royal we. Myself, Shalisi, Jason, and the boys over at Sugar Tree Farm have all teamed up to bring the good boys and girls of the PNW a 100% natural farm-to-table product. And I'll tell you right now, without reservation and without hesitation, it is the best one available, not only in Oregon, but in America, and I'd stack it up against anything across the entire globe. The Brapstar Sessions collab is expanding from just pens and extracts into good old-fashioned pre-rolls here pretty soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Those things are gonna be killer. And if your favorite dispensary in Oregon doesn't carry Session, just tell your local bud tender to order some on LeafLink, and hell, baby, I might just go ahead and drop some off there personally. Thanks for all your support, and thank you for keeping this channel independent. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, y'all, keep it weird.
Crashing through the sky comes a fearful cry. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Armies of the night, evil taking flight. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Panic spreading far and wide. Can the world oppose the deadliest of foes? Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Who will risk it all to end the evil call of Shade Tree, army. Shade Tree, army. They never give up, they never say die, walking tall with banners high. Shade Tree Army, a ruthless gang of scum, villains, freaks, and bikers determined to rule the world.